Our final speaker tonight, she's from Sierra Leone, and I'm going to be reading her profile. Her name is Aminata Kane Balde, and she's going to be speaking on global impact in the non-profit sector. Aminata is a civil society and community mobilizer with experience in public and private sector partnership. Let me mute him so that I can unmute her so that she can get on board. You can also open your video and your audio now. Okay, let me continue with what I'm reading. Aminata is a civil society and community mobilizer with experience in public and private sector partnership, building advocacy and in and out of classroom capacity building trainings and curriculum development. She has implemented, supervised, and managed multi-sectoral projects and convened Pan-African stakeholders events, an event management specialist, and a seasoned workshop facilitator. Aminata brings dynamism, interaction, and productivity to the most unconnected audiences. She's an excellent communicator with great interpersonal relationship skills, which she has effectively implemented locally and internationally. Aminata has great ability in functioning in multicultural contexts, developing teams, and leading them to excellent delivery. And we welcome for the first time to the Global Youth Summit, powered by Aditloye Empowerment and Development Initiative. We welcome Aminata Kane Balde as she speaks on global impact in the non-profit sector. Thank you. So you can unmute yourself now.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dayo, for this opportunity. I would like to say that, you've been absolutely supportive, such a long-standing partner, who never hesitates to come on board and support just when it includes youth empowerment, capacity building, and contributing to the empowerment of African youth. And I really do appreciate you for that. Yeah, so the introduction, I think, is such a great one. Thank you so much. That's my humble contribution to, to leveraging the potential that African youth has. And yeah, so I'm so happy and honored to be here today to discuss with all this great audience.
Thank you very much.
The session or how the hello, Dayo.
Yes, you can go ahead.
Okay, so there is
thank you very much for that generous comments about me. We appreciate you.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, so you can go ahead with your presentation.
Okay. So I don't have a presentation to project, but I would like to share my views that are based on more than 15 years of experience, in this sector that is a non-profit sector. So I do believe that the non-profit sector is such an essential sector, and in terms of its relationship with impact, global impact, we need to understand that without those NGOs, without those non-profits that have the interests of the population and the interest of that focus on the livelihoods of the populations, it's really very difficult for some regions of the world to get out of the drastic situations they're living in. I can take the example of Oxfam. Some of those examples are not necessarily like conventional or people that people always applaud, but they are examples nonetheless. So if you take the example of Oxfam and how they were fighting poverty, and then how they were supporting poverty alleviation in many in many countries of the world, but also in many countries in Africa, then you would see that the importance that it has. Sometimes the impact is so like difficult to perceive because of the dire situations, because of the complexities that are involved. But nonetheless, without those interventions, there would be even greater human suffering, which is what those nonprofits are for. So for those nonprofits, most of the time it's more of impact that they put forward, not just like the profit, the salary, or the benefits that they make. So we also take the examples of as a nonprofits that are focusing more on literacy. So reducing the lack of literacy among women, or among the youth, among elderly people. Yeah, or there's a financial literacy among small businesses. So there are so many ways of creating impact as a non-profit, but those are very vital activities, vital actions that contribute to supporting youth, to supporting the women and the populations. So another example can be like the war that is happening now in Ukraine, and between Ukraine and Russia. So like for-profits one endeavor to go there and try to alleviate the sufferings of populations, especially women and small kids. But then it's the non-profits, it's those international organizations whose mandates include, that alleviation of sufferings, or the contribution to developing skills, and to empowering populations. Those are the ones that endeavor to go there at the risk of their own lives, but still do it because the world needs that. The communities need that, and that's where we do need to focus. So yeah, that's something that is great that the NGOs, that the nonprofits are doing, even though there is so much of damage that is being created along the line, and that's why sometimes they're called non-conventional. They're criticized, and that criticism in itself is very healthy, is very important, because that's what like the type of data that they need, the type of feedback that they need for them to offer better, for them to create better programs for the populations. So that is absolutely crucial. What I also would like to add is that it's not only those nonprofits that should be on board. It takes collaboration among nonprofits and the for-profits. Like the private sector has such a great role to play in even equipping the nonprofits with the either the skills, the investments that they need for those great endeavors to take place. Yeah. So like among the consequences, or the disadvantages of for non-profits and the global impact, you have that culture of most of the things being free, and the population, especially in Africa, being used to lack of efforts, lack of investment into their own skills building, into their own livelihood improvement, their communities and everything. Like everything has been made so easy and so accessible that young entrepreneurs, for example, are receiving grants while they are businesses who should be taught how to start a business, how to sustain it, how to scale it, and how even at a certain point to become an investor yourself, become investable first of all, like be investor ready, be investable, and then ensure the benefits of your investors, but also of your own business. but at the same time, um, then become investors themselves, because we need to build that culture wherein it's our own businesses that in turn come back and develop communities, soar up, like lift up as a small entities, as a community members, and build something greater. Yeah, but um, that dependency on non-for-profit support has also jeopardized that aspect of community development, of business development, that is also essential to development, to the pursuit for development. So it's a double-sided knife, and yeah, as I said, without it, it would be very, very difficult for some countries, some parts of the world to survive. So I do know, like, it's very essential to have it when it comes to, like, natural disaster stricken parts of the world, or communities, like when there are mudslides, when there are earthquakes, or storms and stuff like that. That's absolutely important for nonprofits to have that global impact, to have that impact that allows the communities to stand up again from those difficulties, from those calamities. Very important. So ensuring their funding, ensuring that they're putting in place programs and programs, projects, and support systems that will be very beneficial, and that will tackle the livelihood issues of communities, rather than contributing to that dependency that I just described. Yeah, so it's essential that we ensure that they have that continuous support from philanthropists, from other entities that support them. But yeah, once again, that's something that is very, very difficult, like ensuring that access to resources, because we do know that we have now what is called the donor fatigue. Because if we take the example of HIV/AIDS, for example, it has been for decades the focus of so many non-for-profits, and then the impact that it should have had on communities, on people living with the HIV/AIDS disease, was not what was expected, or what was not what ethically should have happened, and that was really such a blunder, such a mishap, because at the same time, like, the motto was being accountable to our beneficiaries, and the beneficiaries were the people living with HIV/AIDS. But how the funds were being used over the years was just for people to organize events, convene the people who were really suffering to parades, to just like come and show up, and be utilized to create more of funding, but nothing more, and that at a certain point the donors realized, and they started, being fatigued and not funding HIV/AIDS, so those are very negative effects of misuse of funds, and especially when it looks like a global strategy. Yeah. So and when you take also, yes, Dio.
Okay, so I've seen you host a lot of non-profit events on a bigger scale. And so can you just tell us how you started the Prepping for Development platform? How did you started it? What was your motivation, and what were the early days like? And what are the kind of support you got through the process, and you keep building over the years and things like that?
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dayo, for that. For that, for bringing that, because yes, I have an NGO called Craving for Development, and from inception in 2018, what we're trying to do is to support young entrepreneurs to build their skills, to also work around ecosystem building, because like the same way that the entrepreneurship in the West is really facilitated by those systems, by the policies, by access to all what you need in terms of support, in terms of mentoring, in terms of knowledge and everything. The same way we have such a very inexistent ecosystem that backs up the entrepreneur. So that's the reason why we develop more and more programs that are really accurate and that are adequate to the need of the entrepreneurs. So it started in Sierra Leone. So I myself, I'm a Senegalese citizen, but I've been living in Sierra Leone for 11 years. And now, as we all can now relate, now we would gain more in identifying ourselves as African people, So, and then Craving for Development, just like grew into a Pan-African organization, which was our mandate initially, but then we had to start with a context. We had to start with an issue, which was the Sierra Leonean context and all. Yeah, so we have a monthly TV show that is promoting entrepreneurship, that also, attracts the entrepreneurs from their beginnings to like their journeys, their challenges, their success stories, and we discuss topics of the month. But now it turned into a venture building project, and we have monthly career development courses, access to finance programs. Yeah, and then later we initiated the Pan African Symposium on Agriculture. That is an annual event, and that's where Dayo has been such a pivotal partner from 2020 till now. Yeah, so we are at the third edition. So tomorrow is the launching of the third edition in Sierra Leone, but it's a hybrid event. So I would urge all those participants to seize the opportunity and register. Registration is still open. I will send the registration link and the agenda, as well as the flyers to Dayo to share with you. So like for example, last year, that was the second edition that was held in Senegal. We had 11 million engagements of youth across Africa. And what that shows is the interest that the young people have in agriculture, the realization that, that agriculture has that in Africa, has that potential, and then accessing the markets, accessing the networks, accessing the expertise and the experts, building partnerships is something that is now more accessible to us than it was before. So how to make sure that so how to make sure that we create those regional platforms that bring all those experts together, that does matchmaking among solution providers, that connect solution providers with their potential clients, products and services providers with their clients, and then to make sure that also with all the synergies that we are creating, that we make sure that the diaspora comes back on board and all that, So this year we are discussing intra-Africa trade, ways of strengthening agri-food supply chains in Africa and everything around that, So yes, that's a way for nonprofits also to create impact in building skills, in building people, in building businesses, and in ensuring that legacies are I would say transmitted generation to generation, because that lives beyond the people who found it or who are creating programs. So to me, that's the best investment, that's the best impact, which is impact and investment in people, in their capacities and in the potential that they have. Yeah, so that's how saving for development is impacting African youth.
Okay. That's awesome. Awesome. All right.
Thank you.
So I would also like to ask, what would be your advice for somebody that would like to start a non-profit venture and person doesn't know how to go about it, but he knows that maybe he has a call to be in that space, or he just loves the idea of reaching out to humanity and helping people generally? What would be your advice for somebody that is just starting in that field?
Yeah. So my advice would be for the youth, to get ready, because as the speaker just before me was saying, you can, yes, register either business or non-profit before you start activities, and that will be the preparation phase, and all that. So it's very important. But to me, either a business venture or a non-profit venture, we have to be ready. We have to prepare ourselves, and we have to make sure that we have clarity. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. So we need to make sure that we have clarity around around what our vision is, what our mission is, what are our objectives, what are our expected outcomes of that, of that of that endeavor, of that organization, and then once we and then the values, defining the values, and at the same time, so those certain of those steps can come later, later on when work starts, when staff joins and all. But it's really important prior to having a team or prior to starting activities to really define what is the reason for the creation of that organization. What problem do you want to solve? What makes you angry? What is the reason why you said, okay, no more of this, I'm creating this to end something that I really don't like, or that I don't want to sit and watch happening, So it's important, so that whatever else you are doing stems from that vision, stems from that mission, and from those values that you have identified before. And then later on, it would be to focus more on internal processes to make sure that the business, the organization is really very, very solid inside, that we have all those documentations that are guiding the work of employees, but also that are ensuring their security, and that that is something that solidifies the existence of the organization before we talk about either expanding or just like conquering other horizons and everything. Because there are so many youth now who call themselves a CEO of X organization, or I have an NGO, but I'm always like, okay, so what is the NGO about? Why did you create it? What are the activities? Because you need to see if those activities that you want to run will allow you to implement that vision and those objectives. So it's really important to have eyes always on your vision and to define it very clearly. And before you bring your team on board, making sure that you have clear guidance that you can give them. Because most of the time it's you who has the clearest idea or vision of what you want to do. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Okay, awesome. Let's start dropping in questions. Questions are already coming in already. Aminata runs a not-for-profit venture in Sierra Leone, and they have done projects from Senegal to other countries, and they are doing well. Somebody is asking here, what are the challenges you have faced so far in running projects, your NGO projects and all that?
Yeah, so one of the greatest challenges is like, and that's so beautiful because we share the same challenges as the people we are trying to support, who are the entrepreneurs. So if you ask any entrepreneurs, most of the time, what they would tell you is access to funding. That's a challenge, but how we braved it was by believing in our own vision, believing in what we were doing, and funding it first. So for we've been in existence since 2018 till now. Uh, the only grant we have ever received was a grant of $5,000 from that time till now, and we have like events that convene 23 African countries together, and those are different. Those are different in terms of the funding of the events. But then, I mean, the organization itself, how it sustains itself, how it has funded its programs in country, and everything. It has been something that we have been funding ourselves, believing in it, and proving the capacity that we have, and the impact that we can create. Yeah, so that, and also, team, the issue of team, because uh to find those valuable, reliable, and dedicated people who will do what it takes for the work to happen, and yeah, that's really such a challenge uh that we have faced throughout the journey. Yeah.
Okay, let's drop in our questions. I'm going to share something for us now. The upcoming events by the platform of Aminata, Craving for Development. They have an upcoming event. I'm going to share with us one of their flyer now. And we're going to see, let's start dropping our questions because we'll soon round up now. If you look at your screen now, you will see one of their event coming up on Pan-African Symposium on Agriculture, Strengthening Agri-Food Supply Chains in Africa. So if you are in the development space, you are in agricultural space, and you like development very well, this program is starting by the 5th of December, which is tomorrow. I will be speaking in this event. Also, I'll be speaking in this event in Freetown in Sierra Leone, but I'll be connecting from online. So this event is both a virtual event and a physical event. You can see their partners. Like this panel session topic now that Aminata will be anchoring is on food security and sovereignty through our grain markets and a leverage on cross-sectoral leakages. So it's a lot of conversation, a lot of insight that people can get to know. And so we'll be dropping the registration link for you. I don't know if Aminata can help us to drop it in the meeting chat, or you can send it to me on WhatsApp. So we share it on our WhatsApp group for this event. So the beauty of it is that this is a platform for us to network together. One of the beauty of having a global platform like this is collaboration and support system. All right, collaboration and support system. See what Aminata is doing in Sierra Leone, and they have run projects in different countries of the world. So let the question keeps coming in. Okay, the registration link is here. The registration link is here, so you can pick that, and I will encourage everybody on this call to be part of that event. You can connect online, and if you are in Sierra Leone, you should be in that event physically. Okay, so somebody says, what must you have to start an NGO? What must you have to start an NGO? You can respond to that.
Yeah. So what must be, it's like a purpose, a vision, as I said. What do you really want to change? But also the capacity. The capacity, training yourself, because leading an organization and leading people is absolutely very, very difficult, because like it's at the same time people's management, but also systems management, and yeah, and it's really hard, but at the same time it requires focus, belief, and perseverance. So in terms of attributes and skills that are not inbuilt, but that you work to build, those are the ones that I do think are really very, very important. But then in terms of like, if we're talking about how much money do you need to have, it depends on countries. It also varies across countries, but it's mainly like it's not that expensive. And most of the countries now are having a one-stop shop wherein you can have all your documents, you can have all your registration documents, and just like get started. But it's absolutely important to go through the process to become an NGO, because you can be a registered organization without being an NGO. And the advantage of becoming an NGO is the possibility of building partnerships with organizations that would be able to work only with NGOs or with government. So but then being also very intentional around complying with norms, with rules and regulations. Yeah, mainly. That's what I would say.
Okay, very good. Another thing I would want to ask is, how do you undo or work around your monitoring and evaluation? Because I know it's a very core aspect of the non-profit work. How do you go about monitoring and evaluation?
Yeah, so we do impact assessments like every 6 months. We have like the ignition hour goes for a season. We start in October of one year, and we finish we close the season in June of the following year. And after every season we have an impact assessment. And after every event that we organize, we not only measure the effect that the event has on the participants, but 6 months later we measure the impact that it has. Because I guess after an event you kind of know if how the impact it has. You kind of measure it. It's more of an effect that it has. But then 6 months later, how many people started businesses based on the knowledge that was shared? How many improve in their systems, in their processes, in how many sealed deals or built partnerships? All those. And that data informs the curation of new programs and all. One example is this current year we didn't have the Ignition Hour season 4, because data was telling us that the transformative impact that we wanted to have was not happening, was not what was being reflected, among our beneficiaries. It was more of consumerism. It was more of coming to events, yes, asking great questions, participating and all, but then they won't act upon what they learned, So that's how we then decided, to have that sabbatical year. So we rested for 1 year, but it was active resting, wherein we thought through the process again, and what happened was I met a co-founder, a person that I had the same vision with, and I like we shared a lot that we knew, and we complemented each other in very many ways in terms of skills and background and everything. And then we created now a stronger, more viable, and more transformative model that is a venture building type of model. So, yeah, so I think by assessing, monitoring, and evaluating what you are doing, your programs, your impact, and yeah, and all that you bring on board is absolutely important, because that's what informs further ventures. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. We have one more question before we round up this section. Thank you, Aminata. We really appreciate creating time, because I know your event starts tomorrow. It has been back to back, I know. All right. So somebody is asking how many people minimum is required to form an NGO?
Oh, how many people minimum do you require to form an NGO? To form, like to start, it's one. If you have the idea, if you have the vision, if everything is clear to you, you can start your own NGO, and then later on you build the team when all the requisite work is done. And along the way, as I explained, you can meet your co-founders, and you do all the legalities around that. But then you don't need to build a team to start the NGO. You don't need a tribe, like people who are behind the vision and everything, to start an NGO. It has to do with that vision, that problem you want to solve, the clarity around all that, around your vision, your mission, your values, before starting. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much for taking your time to be here today for this final section. We really appreciate you. If you're on this call, let's just give a special appreciation to Aminata all the way from Sierra Leone to make this event a great one, because without her speaking on this platform, then this event is not complete. As somebody is still asking about registration, what are the papers for legal registration of an NGO? So this question is very good for our lawyer that just left, because they are the one that does those registration of a team. If you need to register an NGO, just talk to your lawyer or any of those consultants that does it. Then, but you can also talk to this maybe for people also in your axis. What form of legal papers you need for NGO?
Yeah.
So, do you want to respond to that?
I didn't hear that one.
What are the papers for the legal registration of NGO?
Oh, yeah. And yes, I second what you said, but also the other thing is that it changes, of course, across borders. Many countries have different legal frameworks and regulations. So it really is dynamic across countries, but it's being made very, very, very simple and accessible to founders, to entrepreneurs. But yeah, all the legalities can be specified by your legal person, advisors, and yeah, or approaching the specified bureaus that take care of that in your country.
Okay, yeah. Awesome. So want to appreciate you. Thank you so much for joining us.